happy Tuesday. We are officially in dry hands rescue. Tis the season. It is cold and freezing out, and cold and freezing is, synonyms, are synonyms. Oh, am I a first grade teacher or what? Okay, anyway, happy Tuesday. I thought I would take you along this week and kind of share just some of the activities we are up to. I know I shared a few things last week, but I said this week we are moving on to other units, which I'm happy about because I felt like we were stuck on a few units for a while just because we had like short weeks. So we are moving on in math from geometry to numbers to 20. So this is kind of a faster unit, but it just gets us set up. We're talking about those teen numbers. We're really introducing that beginning place value, comparing and ordering those numbers. So I'll share some of those activities. In Phonics, we are going back to review some digraphs just because we have switched up some of the units because we're doing the pilot. Later in today's video, I will share a little bit more about the pilot. I had some questions in the last video about HMH and why we did foundations and now we're doing HMH, and also a lot of people are doing HMH. Houghton, I don't even know how to say it, Houghton Mifflin, however you say it. HMH into reading is a very popular boxed curriculum that many of you are using. So I want to talk a little bit later in the video just about what that process is looking like, things I am liking about it, things I'm not liking about it, and just clarify a few things around that because I did get a lot of questions about where to find things, like the slides I'm using and some of the activities I'm using people didn't seem to find, or they were telling me to kind of find things in different areas even though we're not using that part of it. So anyway, I'm going to clarify that a little bit later. Today, I need to get everything set up, and I actually have to put up some anchor charts back there for the numbers 11 through 20. I've mentioned this many times in my video, but I don't put up anything in our classroom until we have taught it yet. So on the back wall over there, let me see if I can show you, we only have numbers 1 through 10, because that is all we had learned. We learned the numbers 1 through 10. We learned how to add and subtract within those numbers. And then we went to geometry. So now we're going back to 20. And the way our curriculum works is we will again go over those numbers 11 through 20. And then we will teach students how to add and subtract within those numbers. And then we do that again within 40, and then I think up to 120. I don't think there's an additional step. So it kind of scaffolds that along the year for them. So let me get those posters up. Let me get a few things ready around here, and then we'll dive in and I'll share what we're up to. Later in the day, I put up those anchor charts for the numbers. My lights are off right now. I didn't feel like turning them on, but I put up those anchor charts. I will link them down below. They're just a quick little freebie I have. They are in the math club, but you can see they just say the number word, and then they have a 10 frame for them. So since I just put up the number charts, I figured we can talk about what I'm doing in math for the next couple days. So we are basically just introducing how a teen number is a group of 10 and then some ones left over. And we're really getting them to understand that concept, the beginning concept of place value. So let me pull up the slides for today so I can show you what we're doing. All right, we are starting with a math warm-up, which today and throughout the rest of the week, actually, we're doing fill the grid. So here for fill the grid, students have to think of 4 different ways they can make this number. So there was 2, 10 and 12, and I'll insert some pictures here of some of the different ways my students did that. And then our objective is we can use place value to show the numbers to 20. So I had 14 cubes on the rug, and then I showed it up here, and I said, let's see, how many groups of 10 do you think I can make with the number 14? And students made some guesses. Most of them were correct. They said they think they could make 1 group of 10. So we checked it, and I made a group of 10 with these. I circled it on the board, and then I actually stacked the physical cubes on the rug into 1 group of 10. And then we said, how many leftovers do we have? 4. And then I showed them, so how many groups of 10? 1, 4 ones. What does that number 1, 4 look like? 14. And then we actually used popsicle sticks today. So we had a little activity where I had students take more than 10 popsicle sticks. They had to make a bundle of 10 and then see how many were left over. And then we basically said, 15 is the same as 1 10 and 5 ones. And then we filled it in here. So we did that together on the rug a couple times, and then I gave everybody a chance to do this with a partner. So I will show you how this worked. We basically used popsicle sticks. We had a place value mat, and then this just opens up to a little spinner wheel that had the numbers between 10 and 20. So let me show you how we did that. All right, so here's the place value mat, and then every pair of students had, these are horribly dirty, but that's fine, some popsicle sticks. So they had a group of 10, and then they had 10 ones. I don't think I grabbed 10 ones, but they also had 10 ones. And what would happen is I would have somebody come up to that spinner, they would spin it on the board, and it would show a teen number that they had to build. So then students had to take their group of 10, put it here, and actually, to be fair, we started with 10 ones, and they used some fine motor practice to actually put it in a group of 10. They put that here, and then if the number was 14, they had to build 14 and write it. So how many groups of 10? 1. How many ones? 4. And the number is 14. So if partner A was the one building and writing, then partner B was the one checking. So they had to check it, and when both partners, when everybody was ready at their group, they had to give me a thumbs up and say they were good to go. And then we checked it on the board. Then if partner A went first, partner B would go next, move everything away, erase it all, and then we would get rid of the number 14 on the spinner, and a new number came out. And then partner B, if the number was 16, they had to build their 16, show it here. I would also, during this time, go around and have them count the number, so it'd say 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 to prove it to me. And I was also making sure that they were counting on from that 10, that they weren't, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So they had to do all that here. Then I had students play this game. It's called Roll, Count, and Color. I actually think this is in my kindergarten print and play games. So we had player 1 and player 2, and then they just had a dice. They would have to roll, so let's say they got a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. They would have to count up this number, so 10, 11. And then on their board, player 1 would color in the 11. So, and then same with player 2. They would just go this way, around, count up what it is, and color. And they just played for 10 minutes, or whoever colored in their whole board first. And of course, if they, already landed on an 11 and it's colored in, if they land on an 11 again, their turn is skipped. So this was that slide, just showed them how to play the game on the rug, and then students go off to their own seats and they play for about 10 minutes here on this countdown timer. And when we are done, let's see, they'll just do some independent practice. This is from their workbook, so they're just writing in the missing number. So they'll circle the 10 here. They have 1 10 and 6 1, so they'll write 16. And here is just a little match. And then if they are complete with that, they can go over to IXL. Happy Wednesday. I definitely forgot to vlog yesterday. I didn't really forget, but there was just a lot going on. I think I showed you what we were doing in math, but I think that's kind of all I got to yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to check in after school or anything. So here I am. It's a new day. It is Wednesday. I have an IEP meeting this morning that I'm going to go ahead and get prepped for. And then I'll share with you kind of what we are doing. Sorry, I'm taking off my coat. I'll share with you what we are doing in math again. I'll share some of the other activities we are going to do this week for those numbers within 20, those teen numbers in beginning place value. And then I can also just give a quick rundown on what we are doing in writing and phonics and reading and all that fun stuff. So let me get ready for this meeting, get everything kind of laid out and planned out. I don't know if I'll pop in back this morning or if I'll wait till after school, but sometime today I will share all the activities we are doing. So let me get started. Okay, I was getting everything prepped for math that I'll share with you later, but I wanted to show you this. My son, Theo, he's in 4th grade, and he just had his travel tryouts for basketball. And it's like the first time where they can try out for a team and not make it. And there were 30-something kids and only 11 made the team, and he did make it, so we're very excited. It's a really exciting thing for him. But I work with his 1st grade teacher. Previously, he's now in 4th grade, but and she made these adorable cookies that I have to show you. It's like the sweetest thing ever. He's going to love it. Look at these. Congrats, Theo. The little basketballs. Are they not the cutest thing ever? I die. Hello, popping in from the end of the day. Wednesday is over. That means hump day is over, which means there's 2 days for this week. And then we don't do like a full Thanksgiving break, but we have 2.5 days next week. So we'll have a half day on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, which means next week is like barely anything. We're gonna do some fun Thanksgiving themed things. And then we get a few days home with our family and enjoying Thanksgiving. So countdown is on for a little bit. I did wanna share with you some of the math activities we are doing this week and also talk about what we're doing in all the other subjects. So let's go ahead and just do that. I grabbed the slides, of course. I shared yesterday that all week long we are using the Fill the Grid for our number talk. So we did 2 of these with 6 and 14. And then our objective today was to actually compare numbers within 20. So we talked about place value yesterday, and now we are going to compare these numbers. So I have the numbers 13 and 14 up here. And then I did this whole group on the carpet, but I put out 13 cubes, which I have over here on the left. And then I did this again with 15 cubes. So I put out the 13 cubes and I said, how many groups of 10 can I make with the number 13? And I had students make them into one big like stack. And they realized they have one group of 10, and then I had somebody come up and they just circled it over here. They circled the 10 of them. And then we said, how many are left over? We have 3, so 3 ones. And then we filled in the chart. 1, 10, 3 ones. And then we did the same for 15. I had another 15 separate cubes, and I asked students how many groups of 10 could they make. They said 1. I had somebody circle it, we stacked it on the rug, 1 10, and then 5 ones. And this is where I showed students that when we are comparing 2-digit numbers, we want to start in the tens place. So we looked at the tens place first and we said, okay, they both have one group of 10. So now we have to look at the ones place to say which one is bigger. We had 3 ones and we had 5 ones. And then I reviewed kind of how to draw that symbol, which we have done before in our unit with numbers 1 through 10. So we talked about when we teach it, we do the 2 dots. Let me show you real quick. So this is what the board looked like. Somebody had come up and they'd circled the 10. We had 13, circled this. We had 15. And then I asked them how we could compare these numbers. So we have 13 and 15. When we're doing this, let me just draw it up here. 13 and 15. I always show students that if the bigger number is 15, we draw the 2 dots here, 1 dot here to show that this is the lesser number, and then we connect it. And then we talk about how it looks like it's kind of eating that 15. I know we don't really do the alligator method anymore, but instead we use the dots just to show that 15 is greater than 13. The next slide is just taken right from our Math in Focus curriculum, and it says using place value to compare the numbers. So we talked about not only can we compare 2 numbers, but we can also compare the numbers and then order them from greatest to least or from least to greatest. So we reviewed what least and greatest both mean. We looked at the place value for each of these and put them in order and just kind of talked through this slide and how they knew. Then to have students practice comparing numbers, I actually had them take out their Reckon Recs, and I'm really trying to show them many different ways we can make these teen numbers. So all we did is I had this spinner that we talked about yesterday in the game we used, or the activity that we did. So I had students come up, they would spin 2 numbers, and then they would build them with the partner. So one person would build the first number, the other would build the second number, and they would show it on their Reckon Rec. Then we also would come up and we would write how many 10s there are, how many 1s. The number was up here in the yellow boxes, and then they would come draw the symbol. So if we did 16 and 19, let's say, one partner would build 16. So let me do that, I only have one hand. There we go. 16, and we talked about how there's 1 10 up at the top and then 6 ones down on the bottom. We don't have enough to make a whole nother rack, or a whole nother 10 rather. So 16, and then we did the same thing with 19, and we would draw the symbol to compare. So we just did that a few times with students just so they could really see those 10s and 1s and compare the numbers. Then to practice ordering these numbers and comparing more than just 2 at a time, we played this game, Flip, Build, and Compare. It is very similar to a game that I have in my math club, but actually one of my teammates made this one, and it just has little turkeys on it to make it themed. So let me show you how this works. Okay, so for this game, I just put the little sheet here in a sleeve protector. They needed their whiteboard marker, and here's all the turkey cards. Now, these are just the numbers, I believe, from 10 all the way to 19. We didn't include 20 in here. And students will just flip over 3 of the cards. 1, 2, and, oops, 3. These happen to already be in order. And what I had students do was before they even put them in order, they had to actually build each number. Now, since we have been using the Reckon Recs, we've used cubes, and we used popsicle sticks yesterday, I wanted them to take that kind of concrete action and now make it pictorial. So I showed them on the board how to do this, of course, first. But I wanted to see, okay, 19, how would we show that here? And I showed them to just do one quick little rectangle. That's going to be our stack of 10, just like we do with our cubes. And then we have 1, 10. How many ones? 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 19. And then they would do the same thing with 18 and 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here we have the 3 numbers, and then they have to put them in order, first from greatest to least, and then from least to greatest. So greatest to least would be 19, 18, 17, and then 17, 18, 19. And their partner would go ahead and check them, and then once they were checked, they would erase the whole thing, and they would start again. They would flip 3 new cards, and then they would shuffle if they still had more. And then, of course, over on the board, I have just a 10-minute little timer with some fun music where they go ahead and play this game. If you are in my SJT Math Club, like I said, I have basically that exact same game. We have it with numbers within 20, and then it actually builds again with numbers within 50, I believe, and then 120. Might even go up to 1,000 for 2nd grade. But basically they flip 3 cards, they have to draw the number on the mat to actually show that what it means, and then they have to order them. I think I call it flip, make, order, something like that. I'll put a picture right here, just so you know what I'm talking about. But like I said, my teammate had basically taken that and turned it into this with the little turkey theme, since it's going to be Thanksgiving soon. So that was really cute and easy to do, and students got that pretty quickly. And it was also nice, like I said, to move students from that concrete to the pictorial or the representational to see who could draw out what 19 or 17 or any of those numbers really looked like. I had a couple of students that were a little confused by that, so that was nice to kind of help them through that. When they were done with that, we went over to our independent practice. This is just in their Math in Focus workbook, so you can just see 2 workbook pages. I've said this many times before, but with Math in Focus, I don't always love all the wording. It's very language heavy. For my students to be able to answer blank is greater than blank is less than blank. These are actually fine. But I definitely have to read this aloud to my students, and they will be able to put them in order and answer them all correctly. And so we did it with just words, and we also did it with the symbols, and then we had more than 2 numbers where they would put them in order. And then there was only about 5 minutes left, so they went over to IXL to do just a couple math games before lunch. When looking ahead for math this week, we are continuing to practice comparing numbers tomorrow. So we're going to kind of do the same thing where we're going to compare different numbers. I have a couple different games we're going to play that I will show you in a second. But really solidifying that place value is going to be the most important part of this teen numbers unit, right? I want my students to understand that every teen number is really a group of 10 and then some ones. And we can use that information to order numbers, to compare them, and so on. So let me just show you real quick what we're doing tomorrow, what that will look like. Here is our objective. We can compare numbers within 20 using place value. So today I wanted to just kind of show them on that first slide a number that does not have a 10, so that's not a teen number, and talk about how that does not have any groups of 10. And of course I will have cubes for this so they can see this. And then talking about that number as compared to 11, and how if we're starting in the tens place to compare these numbers, this number would have 0 tens. So therefore this number must be larger. Then we have a little let's think. I believe this came from Math in Focus. I just typed it up on a slide. A number is greater than 15 but less than 19. So first we're going to make a list of the numbers that it could be, and then we're going to go to part B, which says the digits in the number add, oh, that's supposed to be add up to 8. See, let me fix that. Add up to 8. So what is the number? So they will have to figure that out. So we'll talk about the digits again, and then we'll talk about that place value and how we can figure out the answer to this little riddle. And then we're going to kind of review what we did yesterday, order 15, 20, and 9 from greatest to least. This time we don't have any visual here of cubes or drawings. Instead, we just have a place value chart. So they have to really look at, first compare the tens, choose the greatest, and then we have 1, and then we have 0. So this must be them in order. And then I'm gonna just ask a couple students to come up and pick any 2 of these numbers and put them here and use the comparison symbol, which we will practice again on this slide. So I'm going to have students, I think I'm gonna have them come up to the board, or I might have them bring their whiteboard. I'll have to kind of see how I'm feeling. They might bring their whiteboard over to the rug, and they will pick 2 numbers. Actually, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. See, I like thinking it aloud with you. I'm gonna have one student come up and they'll pick any 2 of these numbers, and we'll cross it out and we'll write it up here. And then everyone on their whiteboard is going to compare them using the symbols, greater than, less than, or equals to, or equal to. So that's what I'll have them do on the rug. So there should be, how many numbers do we have? About 12. So they'll do about 6 rounds of this. Somebody will come up and pick 2 of the numbers, cross them out, and then everybody will compare them. Then we're going to play Collect and Compare. This is from my Print and Play math games unit. And basically player 1 starts here, player 2 starts here. They just roll and move, and then they have to collect that many cubes until they get to the end. And once they get to the very end, once they've reached the other end of it, they'll write down their total here, and then they have to compare who has the most. So you can see that it's definitely possible for students to get a lot of cubes, higher than 20, for example. But most often they are getting around 20 or a little bit less. So if they get over, I'm kind of fine with that, because at this point we've already talked about place value and the 10s and the 1s, and I think it'll be a good way to extend. So we're gonna play Collect and Compare. And then really the only other thing we are doing for this unit is going to be to complete number patterns and identify 1 more, 1 less, 2 more, and 2 less of any number that's within 20. So just kind of looking at those number patterns, being able to complete one, and again, identifying what comes next, what comes before, and all things like that. So we should really finish up this unit, I think by Tuesday of next week, and we only have the half day on Wednesday. But instead of assessing, my team and I were talking today, instead of assessing on Wednesday, the half day right before we go to Thanksgiving, those days are going to be kind of funky. So we're going to come back after Thanksgiving, do a whole review day on everything we've learned, counting within 20, both forwards and backwards, comparing numbers, ordering numbers, and doing number patterns. And then we will assess on Tuesday and then kick off with our next unit. So that is the plan for the next little bit of time in math. All right, let's talk into reading. I think I said in yesterday's video I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. Sometimes I forget because I share every week, and I do know there are a lot of viewers and subscribers that watch my videos every single week. Thank you very much, and have been watching for well over a year now. So you already know the process that we went through when we are picking a new curriculum. So I'm not going to go into the entire thing because that would just bore everybody. Actually, if you do want a separate video on how we are picking our curriculum, I guess just let me know and I could make that like its own little video, or maybe I can make it a TikTok or an Instagram reel or something like that. But just the SparkNotes version is, I teach here in Massachusetts, and we are getting new legislature that is explaining that everybody, just like I think the whole country is basically, that we need to adopt a reading curriculum that is more aligned with the science of reading. And we need to make sure that, everybody is kind of following it and everybody's not piecemealing things together, just to ensure that our students are reading. So knowing that was coming down the pipeline, our school district wanted to be ahead of the game. So what they did is they asked for a committee if anybody was interested in kind of researching all of these different curriculums that are out there and determining which would be a best fit for our district. So I was like, yes, I love that idea. I definitely have been really into the science of reading and researching all this for well over 5 years now, 5-6 years. So I wanted to know that if I could have, a say or get to actually look at these curriculums first, I would be very appreciative of that. So I asked my team, they were like, yes, you go do that. It's every single Tuesday after school for over a year now. And it's a lot of work, but it is really fun. In my opinion, really fun, what I like to do. So basically what we did is we created a committee, and the committee has people from our whole district. So our district is comprised of 6 different schools across 3 different towns, and it is grades K all the way through 6. So just knowing that information off the bat, when we were looking at different publishers and different curriculums we could use, we needed something that would span from K through 6, and many of the curriculums out there are K through 5. So that immediately kind of knocked ones off of things that we just weren't going to look at. We were not going to do a separate program for 6th grade, nor were they just going to be like doing their own thing, kind of like we've all been doing these last few years in terms of reading. So we all need to be on the same page. So that crossed out a bunch of different curriculums. Then the other thing is we needed it to have a green light on ed reports and already just approved by DESE in Massachusetts. So once we saw what was approved, then that knocked off a few others. So then we had a list of maybe 8, I could look back and see, but there were about 8 different curriculums. And all last year, every single Tuesday after school for an hour and 15 minutes, we would sit down and discuss these. And then previous to that, we would have to, research the curriculum, really look through manuals and see what we liked about it. We would listen to publisher presentations and determine if we thought it was a good fit. We created an entire document that had our criteria, what was important to us as a district. K through 2 teachers had things that were important to them. 3 through 6th grade teachers had things that were important to them, and kind of everywhere in between. So we were trying to find the best match for our district. So after getting the curriculums, watching the publisher presentations, discussing this all with the other teachers on the committee, some programs we even got to go into schools that were using them in the nearby districts, and we got to see how it actually went. We then determined and all kind of voted on 2 that we would try to pilot for this year. All that to say, the 2 that we piloted this year were EL Education and HMH into Reading. It is now November 21st. So in order to give each one a solid 8 weeks and really dive in, we basically started EL Education at the very beginning of the year. So we got our materials and everything like a day before school. And then we had to get a training on it the day before school and start teaching for 8 weeks, a brand new curriculum. So we dove into that. We did not like it. That's the long story short. And I can explain more later if you want to know, but we didn't like it for many different reasons and don't really feel like it's a great fit for our district. Now, then we had like a day in between. We got new training, all the new curriculum for HMH, and if you use Into Reading, you know it is a lot of stuff. It's a lot of boxes. So that all came in, was very overwhelming. Switched gears, and now it's been, I think I'm finishing up week 3, maybe week 4 of, or maybe I'm like 3.5 right now, of Into Reading. So very different from EL Education, and these are the 2 we picked. So EL Education, what we liked about it was the authentic text that it actually uses. They are real books that you can purchase in bookstores, especially our older grades. This is something that was really important to them. Not that I don't love authentic texts, but if we're talking 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, we are talking about wanting real books in students' hands and novel studies and all that type of stuff, and then building knowledge along with that. And that was something EL provided. HMH does a lot more trade books, and they do have authentic texts that are sprinkled within, but they're not necessarily the full length of them. And then of course, HMH is still set up in a less knowledge building way, like an EL Education is a true knowledge building curriculum, which is something we were interested in taking a look at and how that kind of works. And then HMH is much more still set up in like a strategy, skill focused type way. So we have 2 very different programs. I have said this before, but just in case you don't know, for HMH, we are using the structured literacy, which is new, I believe, this year. I think the school year 2024, 2025 is maybe the first year, maybe last year, but it just came out, like we just got our hands on it this summer. And I am enjoying the structured literacy part so far. Definitely better than the other programs that we looked at in terms of what they offer for phonics. Now, all that being said, I hate all these curriculums. So I don't mean to say that, I say that bluntly, but these are boxed curriculums from big publishers. They are, creating these curriculums to meet the masses, right? They are not made specifically for my little school and my students and all of that. So what needs to happen is, and what's great, what I love about my district is we've already had so much training around the science of reading, not just with the phonics and phonemic awareness part of science of reading, but also with that language comprehension and what that should look like and how to help students build knowledge and how to teach vocabulary and all of that fun stuff, that regardless of what curriculum we end up choosing, I do believe we will be able to kind of sort through it, use what we need, and teach it in a way that is going to benefit our kids. So I will tell you just bluntly, out of the 8 we looked at, if I had to pick one, if I could pick one for myself, I would pick CKLA for the language strand, so kind of for our reading part of the day. And I would pick UFly, which was never an option for us, but I would pick UFly for phonics. Those would be like my 2 pairings. Not an option, didn't happen. That's fine. I do feel very confident. Like I said, I actually really am enjoying what I see from the structured literacy part of HMH. I think I mentioned this in my last video. It's very reminiscent of UFly. Take that for what it is. But having a knowledgeable teacher who understands what they're doing and understands what meets kids' needs best is going to be the most important part about picking a curriculum. I mean, a curriculum is going to guide you and it's going to keep everybody on track, but everybody still needs that research and that support behind them. Anyway, that was just a little spiel that I had, but so many people were asking, like, how did you pick HMH? I hate HMH. And for the record, we haven't even picked it yet. I'm just piloting it. We are piloting it. I told you our initial impressions of EL just were not good from the way that our students responded to it. So if I had to guess, I think we are picking this one, but we definitely don't know for sure, and I will keep you updated on that. And like I am only one person on like a 30-person committee, so I don't know what we will choose, but my guess would be this. So all that being said, let me show you what we are doing in phonics reading and writing. In phonics, we are working on that end digraph, the CK rule. So we talked about when we use the CK rule, which is at the end of a 1-syllable word that has a short vowel and ends in that k sound. We will end it with CK. We gave some examples. This is like their little image card, CK, kick, k. And then we, of course, blend all these words. I actually really enjoy these slides that come with the program already. So students just d, e, k, deck. Or you can have them continuously blend, a, ra, k. Whatever you need for your students, you can do it either way. So a bunch of these, I'm gonna go through them. And then we do some handwriting practice every single day. We do word building practice every day, which is where they take out their magnet boards, and we are doing some word chaining. And then I always do a brain break at this point. They teach the heart word method, which of course is something I've done for years, even when a program did not. I would use the heart word method to teach sight words, so I love that it's already included here. Into is the heart word, and then we have some words that just have our skill, pick, back, rock. And then we go right into decodable text. I love that this program puts students in decodable text right away. So that's something I am very much enjoying. And then I told you I had an IEP meeting this morning. So I had a sub pass out the decodable passage that I printed from the website that goes along with the skill. And then they would echo read it, choral read it, and partner read it with a friend, which we have practiced many, many times this year. When it comes to reading, we started with some vocabulary today. Our words were spoon, but as a verb, against, churn, drive, stalk, and heel. And these are the 6 words they're going to hear in their book. And our strategy today was asking and answering questions and why good readers do this. And then the book we read is Who Put the Cookies in the Cookie Jar? And so we're gonna read this a few different times throughout the week, but we just got introduced to it today. They actually have, let me grab it for you. Every student has their own, it's called a My Book. It's basically a basal text from, I used to have these when I was in school. Talk about going back in time. But here we have a basal, and they would open it up and I just read it on the board as they follow along. Some students try to read along with me, some just listen and look at the words, but we read it aloud. We talked about those vocabulary words that are highlighted here, and then we stopped and answered some questions throughout the text and answered some questions after the text. So again, it's very strategy-based instruction so far. Students, I will say, in my class, I know in the older grades, this type of basal is not ideal. It doesn't really instill a love of authentic reading, and that was something that was really important to us. In first grade, not that I'm thinking that's less important, but in first grade, my students have actually really enjoyed having the My Book, which is funny. I didn't think they would, if I'm being entirely honest, but they really enjoy getting to put it on their lap and read all the stories, and they kind of feel like they are real readers, and they have this whole, I mean, they are real readers, but they enjoy having it and looking at it and using it and writing in it. So I was surprised by that. So that was kind of hard to tell, but in that text, it's actually an informational text. So they read an informational text and they asked and answered questions around it. And then to tie that in writing, we are writing informational texts. And the whole overarching theme of this module is community and what makes families and communities special, specifically what makes our community special. So I shared this in last week's video, but in writing, students brainstormed some things that they loved about their community, and then they are writing like a 3 or 4 page book, and each page has something that they think is special about their own community. So yesterday we talked about proper nouns. We talked about what a proper noun was, how it has to start with a capital letter, and then we added a page to it using a proper noun. So first we brainstormed some specific places in our community, like McDonald's, one said, and some of the ice cream shops and some of the specific places we have here in our town that students really love. And then they wrote why they like it as an added page to their book. I wanted to take out the students because I remember he did McDonald's. I love to go to McDonald's. I get a Happy Meal. So he put the capital M here. He even put the capital D here because we talked about how proper nouns have to start with that capital. Like I said, we kind of brainstormed some ideas first, talked about how we need the capital, and then I wanted them to go apply it into their writing. So he has this page. What's the next one? I love I don't know what this word is, but the Park Nova. It's a new park that they have that they love. And then the other one has his name on it, so I'll leave that there. But so he has about 3 pages so far. Some have 4. And we'll practice going back in, editing, revising, and making a cover page for their little My Wonderful World book. So that's kind of what we are doing in writing. That type of writing is the writing like workshop part of the curriculum. So that's our separate writing block. We do also have some writing in connection to the text. So I'm just pulling out one other little journal that I wanted to show you. And this is where students have an opportunity to, after we read the story that we just read today, we'll read it again tomorrow, and they'll probably have an opportunity to go and write in their journal about it. So let me show you what that will look like. So far, here are just some examples. We read about different community helpers, and he said, my community helpers is a police officer. So, he's angry because he's in jail. So that's one. And then we read Abuela yesterday, which I'll show you that book in a second. Oh, here we go. So it said, Rosalba and Abuela would love to go to the Statue of Liberty. So I had written that for him, Statue of Liberty up here. Again, we were talking about those proper nouns, and they had to pick a place that Rosalba and Abuela went in the story, and they would share kind of what they did there or which area they liked in a complete sentence. So Rosalba and Abuela would love to go to the Statue of Liberty. He needs to check for cups here, put his period, and then a picture to match. So that is kind of everything we have been up to. Let me put this friend's journal back. That is what we're up to here in first grade. Everything is around communities, and actually we only have, I think today was lesson 2, so we only have 3 more lessons in this module. I have not yet done like an assessment at the end of the module, so I haven't even looked at what that might look like, so I'm very interested to see what that looks like. I have a feeling, I'll take it with a grain of salt and see what it's all about, but I need to look at that. And then the next unit that we will be doing is Amazing Animals. That's module 3 for HMH. So, there we go. I hope that answered some questions and just gave you some insight into what we are doing over here in first grade. As always, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please let me know. Just let me know down in the comments. I don't know if I will be here next week. Obviously, I'll be in school. I just mean on YouTube because it's such a short and funky week. So in case I am not here, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. I'll still send out an email just wishing you all a happy Thanksgiving and saying hello. But yeah, in case I'm not here, I wanted to say goodbye. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up so I know. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of every new video. See you in the next one. Bye.